welcome to the Lighten Up podcast with Lauren Polly, your invitation for living on the lighter side of life. I'm Lauren Polly, and I'm delighted you have chosen to join me today for episode 215, Control Freak, Try This. Oh, it's a very fascinating thing, these control tendencies that we go into. Speaking to you as a self-proclaimed control freak, as I'm sure many of you are, control can look like a lot of different ways. It can look like people-pleasing, believe it or not, trying to please others to such a degree that you have utter control over the situation. It can look like perfection tendencies, where if everything is absolutely perfect, you know things will be okay, and all the control and the energy that you put in to actually have that be so. Control can look like a domineering personality. I think most of us know what that outwardly looks like. Control can also look like that withdrawal and that victimhood, because you can control people with your supposed limitations and your supposed drama constantly. This can look like a lot of different things, but it all boils down to one thing. It boils down to you having to constantly be in the driver's seat on hypervigilance with tight grips on every single thing that goes on. Unfortunately, we not only build a lot of body tension that way with that tight grip, but we build a lot of emotional tension, a lot of mind tension, and a lot of energetic tension. We hold ourselves so tight when we control that the ability to let loose, to relax, to maybe submit a little bit and let somebody else lead the way occasionally, sometimes to something greater than you could possibly imagine for yourself. And also opening up that ability to just receive from other people, to delegate tasks to other people so that you don't have a massive to-do list, to open up to someone else's perspective that would actually add greater to yours, to actually have kind of that gentlemanly energy into your world where somebody does want to take care of you, instead of us trying to always be the independent person who does everything ourselves. It can create a whole bunch of different stuff. And while we chit chat, I'd love it if you actually just looked for, number one, what is your control tendency? Perfection, people pleasing, controlling with drama, trauma, domineering, whatever variations that take in your life. And also start to look at what you are negating from your life or not inviting in as a result. What are the symptoms of that? What would your body be like if you actually didn't control? Would it have more looseness, more sensuality, more ability to be open and relaxed? Would your mind be clearer? Would the energies around you and those emotional intensities actually soften and soothe out? And would your life and your living perhaps get greater because other people could actually come in and support you? I find so frequently in my own world and also the people that I work with, a lot of people are asking for more receiving. They're asking for more support and for more caring, and yet the control tendencies that they have negate that possibility at every turn. It's almost like this sabotaging energy where you're asking for something but totally unwilling to receive it. And whether you think that if you give up control that you are going to not be safe, you're going to be exposed, you're going to be too vulnerable, whatever that is for you, what if you could just let your barriers down as we talk? They can go up later. And just let yourself be soft in the possibility of having someone or something come in to contribute to you, where you could take your hand and loosen the grip of the steering wheel, loosen it a little bit more, relax a little bit more, and just kind of let that intuitive driver sense that is underneath it, those kind of guiding forces that do direct your life, those innate abilities actually to shine. What if it wasn't the tight grip on the wheel and the tight hypervigilance of the mind to dictate every little quarter turn that comes down the road? What if you were able to relax and actually drive from that space? It's kind of like if you go on a road trip, after you drive for a while, you relax in, you're listening to the music, you're enjoying the conversation, you're enjoying the scenery, so much so that that little bit of relaxation comes in where you're not hyper vigilant about every little turn, every little car. The nervousness goes away. You're able to relax a bit more of that energy. And how could that actually enter into your business, your life, your creations, and your relationships? This idea of hypervigilance, I was talking to one of my clients this week about that, of like, well, I don't trust my awareness enough, and I don't trust that I'm alert enough and present enough in my life to see the possibilities and to be able to actually act on them. So what she had done is she had developed all these different control tactics, and the energy behind it was really this hypervigilance, this almost kind of like trauma thing where you're not quite sure where the next shoe is going to drop. So what do? Your eyes are bugged out, you're very, very tense, you're controlling every little bit of the way because heaven forbid you mess up, or you miss out on an opportunity that otherwise would have been great for you. What if, again, that kind of driving, that relaxation, you could still be directing your life, but there could be less of a vigilance that has to be there? What if you actually asked for the things that were relevant to you to sing out? What if you could actually challenge yourself to let your mind go a bit more blank, your body to actually be a bit more relaxed, and for yourself to actually show up more present in what's going on right now, not the fear of what could occur? And that fear is sometimes that, like, oh my goodness, if this happens, then this something bad will happen. Sometimes it's more of that FOMO, that fear of missing out, like my client had. She didn't have a bad fear of like, oh my goodness, if I let my guard down and my control tactics go away, bad stuff's going to happen. Hers was more of a FOMO energy, a fear of missing out. If I relax and I don't over control everything, then how am I going to find that opening to a new possibility? How am I going to be able to continue to steer my relationship and my business in a greater direction? How am I going to be here for my kids if I'm not helicoptering over them constantly? Our society is one that actually values hypervigilance, and it has people living in a stressed out state more than you could possibly imagine. Unfortunately, that really does take us out of the presence and also the receiving of the beauty of the moment. Allow yourself, again, to simply relax. And that's what I worked on with this different lady, of allowing her mind to go blank whenever that popped up, actually taking a breath and letting her body relax, and becoming more present in that moment. So it's not a what if or what am I missing? It's a, oh, right now it's this. Cool. And you know what? 10 seconds later, it's going to be another, and right now it's this. That control will lead you out of clarity of perception. It'll also lead you out of awareness of the present moment, and unfortunately, the enjoyment of the present moment and the ability to receive contribution in the actual moment itself. And for those of you who'd like to take it a little bit further and into more advanced, delicious territory, this is kind of what I am challenging myself these days, is to actually let myself come out of the driver's seat. So, we've talked a little bit about being able just to relax around the steering wheel, still drive, still be able to have that controlling factor to be able to move and groove with less tension and receiving more contribution. But one of the ways I've been playing with it is actually imagining myself in a limo with my own private chauffeur. And what my life would be like if I was willing to give up that much control. And my tendencies are much more towards the perfection and the people pleasing more so than anything else. It's been fascinating to look at this like, okay, if I was willing to be not even in the passenger seat, but back in the back of the limo, what would that actually look like? I don't have control over the how we are going to the final destination. I'm still calling the shots on where we're going. And I also still have choice of telling that chauffeur, hey, you know what? I actually don't enjoy this route. Let's go this way. So you still have the potency and the ability to actually be in the leadership of your own life, but giving up enough control that you're not actually having to micromanage every nook and cranny and turn along the way. And for me, that just adds in such a luxurious quality, this luxuriousness of, you know what, I actually could receive so much support, so much contribution. I could also delegate so much more in my day-to-day living, my business, my personal life, everything. That a lot of the to-dos, a lot of those smaller choices, a lot of that directionality, that can actually be controlled by someone else. And for those of you who would like to go even further with it, what if you actually allowed so much energetic contribution in, so much relaxation that you were able to submit to a greater purpose? And this is a little bit of an energy of a different conversation we may get into on a different podcast episode, but I want to put it out there. Because thus far we've been talking a lot about letting go of the control in your normal day to day, delegating tasks, giving up, having a little bit more of that relaxation and receiving from your immediate partners. But what if there was a way to give up so much control and get into that limo, actually be chauffeured around and allowed a greater possibility that perhaps you can't see guide you? You know, what if you could actually give your life over to more consciousness, to more of your greater aspects of your life work, and come out of the individualized viewpoint of, I really want to go this way and this is how I want it to turn out, into, you know what, if my life could be a gift to the planet, while I still get to contribute to myself along the way, I wonder what I could create. That is a chauffeured energy. That is a backseat of the limo, still calling the shots, still totally there leading your life, still with your creative potency, but there is a degree of receiving, of a lack of control, of a submission and a beautiful surrendering of relaxation that actually adds to being contributed in a greater way. So there are many different ways to actually play with this conversation. I know many of you listening are here, there, and everywhere in your life path. And you may also notice that you may need a little bit of all of this. It's not unusual that the people that I work with, even myself included, where there are some things where it's like, I am over controlling in my day to day. I am trying to overdo my to-do list. I haven't delegated everything and anything at all, and I am overwhelmed. And my control tendencies in that moment are towards perfection and people pleasing. And you know what? I just have to relax. My grip on the steering wheel is too tight. I am not ready to move to the passenger seat or to the back of that limo, but I am able to release my grip a bit and relax my body and to let my mind go a little bit blank and let that more enjoyable quality of that long road trip take effect. And then there may be other aspects of your life where you are so in your individualized point of view of what you need to do to be perfect, to be people pleasing and finally meet expectations, what have you, that you haven't actually allowed yourself to submit to perhaps a greater purpose or a greater way of life that you actually can't see right now. That again is a little bit more of that chauffeured energy, being able to actually pop into the back seat. Being able to kind of play with these different variabilities and different aspects of your life will actually allow you to enter into a more creative living. And also one that I know a lot of people are seeking, where it's a living of being supported, of being cared for, and actually not having to go it alone and do everything yourself. You know, I for one am pretty sick and tired of that energy, and I do it too much in my own space. It's something that I'm dynamically looking at changing, and I love it when I have personal clients who come on board who are on that same path, and we can dig in together about what else is there to explore. Being able to release the control, to actually control from a space, to lead your life from a space of no control, to submit to a greater purpose, to a greater view of what you could have and be, and also to allow your day-to-day living to be one of more presence, more relaxation, and more enjoyment. And that truly is the invitation of this episode, regardless of where you are now and where you want to play. If you'd love some more one-to-one support with this is one of my favorite topics. Reach out and apply for a one-to-one with me. It is a complimentary kickoff where we can see where we could possibly work together. The link for that is down below. Have an amazing week, and as always, I will chat with you next Tuesday.